So what happens when you cram 20 people into a room, put a life-changing amount of money on the line, and just apply relentless pressure? We're about to dive into this wild social experiment that tells us so much about human nature, about strategy, and, what it really means to win. So yeah, what can a game show with a crazy prize really teach us about who we are? Let's break it down.
First things first, let's talk about the number that changes absolutely everything. $500,000. That isn't just a prize, right? It's the catalyst. It's the kind of money that makes people question their morals, forge these intense, maybe fake bonds, and make choices they probably never thought they would. The real question is, how's it going to change them?
And here are our players. 20 contestants, and get this, they've all been here before. They tasted defeat in the Beast Games, so they're all back for a second shot. Every single one of them knows what it feels like to lose, which just makes that hunger to win this time around so much more intense. So yeah, they're not just playing for the cash, they're playing for a little bit of redemption.
Okay, and here is the one rule that drives this whole thing. It's the engine of the entire experiment. Every 60 seconds, one person gets eliminated. I mean, just imagine that. You have 1 minute to decide someone's fate. There is no time to overthink it, no room for mistakes. The pressure is just cranked to the max from the literal first second. And that pressure cooker brings us to the very first phase of this experiment. With no other rules, no guidance at all, the game just kicks off in total chaos. It is every person for themselves, and you better believe the loudest voices are the first ones that get heard. So in that first round, it was just pure chaos. The clock's ticking down, the group can't agree on who to vote out, and what happens? A totally random elimination. And that one moment of pure chance just sent this shockwave through the room. You could feel the fear of being next. They knew, right then and there, they had to figure out a way to take control, or they were just going to get picked off, one by one.
So how do you make order out of complete chaos? Well, you find a common enemy. The group pretty quickly landed on a simple idea. Let's go after the players who've already won money before. They framed it as justice. But what it really was the first sign of a social order, a mob mentality, starting to form under all that pressure.
But of course, just as soon as they start to figure things out, the rules change completely. This next phase brings in a whole new element that's going to take the game from a public shouting match to, well, private warfare. It's all about strategy now. So boom. Every contestant is suddenly isolated in their own little cube with a phone. Now they can talk in secret. They can form alliances, plot against each other. The whole game just shifts on a dime from this open forum to a quiet, deadly game of chess.
And what's so fascinating is how two totally opposite strategies popped up immediately. On one side, you have player 14, who's basically the diplomat, building this big, stable majority to control the votes, a strategy of order. And on the other side, you have player 19, who just embraced chaos. She was weaving this insane web of fake alliances just to play everyone against each other. It was order versus anarchy. In this quote from player 19, it just perfectly captures the ruthless mindset behind that chaos strategy. For her, social connections were just tools to get ahead. It's a pretty powerful reminder that in a game like this, trust is a currency that can be spent very, very easily.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any more cutthroat, bam, they introduced the revenge rule. If you get voted out, you get to take someone down with you. This is a brilliant twist, because now every single vote carries this huge risk of mutually assured destruction. It's not just an attack anymore, it's a gamble with your own survival.
Okay, so the next batch of challenges starts to pit individual skill against the strength of those alliances. Players now have to make a really tough choice. Do I rely on my own abilities to stay safe? Or do I have to trust that my new allies are actually going to protect me?
The block tower challenge is the perfect example of this. You can build a really tall tower and try to win immunity for yourself, but you risk it all falling and you're just out. Or you can play it safe, build a tiny little tower, and just trust that your alliance will save you if someone else wins. It's the whole game in a nutshell, right? Do you bet on yourself, or do you bet on your friends? And then, in a twist that honestly feels like it was scripted, the two rival leaders, the Architect of Order and the Agent of Chaos, they tie for the win. Suddenly, these two arch-enemies are forced to cooperate. They're not allowed to talk, so they have to decide someone's fate with nothing but a look. I mean, the tension is just incredible.
All right, this next section is, I think, the most psychologically brutal part of the entire experiment. The game just strips away all the physical skill. all the social maneuvering, and it boils everything down to a pure test of your individual will against raw temptation.
The setup is so simple, but it is brutal. There's a cash prize on a screen, and it is climbing fast. Anyone can press a button at any time to claim that money for themselves, but if you do, you're out of the game. If nobody presses the button before time runs out, everyone is safe. Everyone moves on.
The counter starts. 10,000, 20,000. It just keeps climbing. It's a tempting amount of money for sure, enough to make you really think about it. But the real test is coming, because this counter is exponential, and the numbers are about to get wild.
50,000, 60,000, and then it hits $69,000. Okay, now it's serious. That's not just a nice little bonus. For some people, that is a down payment on a house. That's freedom from debt, a totally new life. You can just see the struggle on their faces. The temptation is becoming almost unbearable.
And then, someone breaks. With just one press of the button, one contestant takes the 69 grand and walks away from her shot at the grand prize. The rest of the group is safe, but that spell of perfect cooperation, it's been broken.
And this right here is a brilliant, real-world example of a classic concept from game theory called the prisoner's dilemma. See, the best possible outcome for the group is for everyone to cooperate, for no one to press the button. But for any single individual, the fear that someone else is going to press it first, or just pure greed for guaranteed money, creates this powerful incentive to betray everyone else.
So, after a whole series of brutal eliminations, we are finally down to the final two. And this last challenge, it strips away everything but pure psychology, and it leads to an ending that absolutely no one, and I mean no one, saw coming.
So here it is, the final dilemma. The two finalists each have to hold down a button for 60 seconds. If one person lifts their hand, the other person wins the whole thing, $431,000. But if neither of them lifts their hand, the money drops into a pit and they both go home with absolutely nothing. It is a pure game of trust and nerve.
With just seconds left on the clock, player 11 lifts his hand. He just gives away over $400,000. Why? Well, as he explains here, he knew his opponent was a cancer survivor, and her dream was to start a mobile salon for other patients. For him, making that dream a reality, that was a bigger prize than the money itself.
So this leaves us with this incredible paradox, doesn't it? After this brutal game of strategy and logic and betrayal, the entire thing was decided not by some brilliant calculated move, but by a selfless act of empathy. And it really makes you ask the question, in a game of survival, what's the real winning move? Is it ruthless logic or is it radical empathy?